So the Nintendo Switch 2 has just been announced. And I have to say, I'm not a fan of the name, but hey, Nintendo is nothing but inconsistent. But with the Switch 2 being numbered, you better believe there was a Switch 1, and man, I have notes on this console. The Switch was the first console that Iwata was not acting president for since the GameCube. May he rest in peace. And the Nintendo's first-party showings through the years frustrated me. We've had some really good revivals in the form of Metroid coming back from the brink. Some return of some great classics like the best Mario game ever, Thousand Year Door. However, this is also the generation where Pokémon became beyond lazy with their releases, and Zelda was replaced with a Skinwalker, with the ports and remakes of the classic series being subpar. This is also a console I've bought the most, an OG model for myself, an upgrade to an OLED, as well as an original model for my ex-girlfriend. I've also bought the most games on this console than I've ever done for any other of my consoles, but a good chunk of them are just ports and remakes of games I already own. The Switch was great for playing RPGs. Portability is something that makes me enjoy those type of games more because they're very long and it's pretty convenient to play them anywhere. Which is perfect because I recently got into the Persona series thanks to OG Persona 5, and Persona 3 Reload is just pure perfection. You gotta play it if you haven't yet. And despite owning Royal on PS4 and Steam, I've actually started another playthrough on Switch, and it's slowly becoming my main save, despite being on New Game Plus on PS4, and the Steam having mod support. Something about the Switch just hits different. Despite that, it has its problems. The Kingdom Hearts series ports were relegated to cloud versions, mainly because the Switch can't handle KH3, and the storage requirements for the HD collection is way too large. And instead of doing separate releases like Capcom did for the Devil May Cry series, they decided to slap them all on a server too. Which, I don't have to tell you that's a mistake, but don't worry, you can play Melody of Memories on that console natively. And, I mean, there's no means to test the delay input tracker, so there's that. I can't believe I spent $60 for a cutscene that should have just been amazing. Pokemon, of course, had the whole Dexit controversy, starting with Sword and Shield. Plus, Gen 8 was just really bad, like awful. We got 2 mid-remakes of Kanto again, and Diamond and Pearl, which, honestly, BDSP is a guilty pleasure of mine because Generation 4 was my favorite generation for a while. Well, Silver's my favorite game of the series, but we got the JoJo remakes in Gen 4, so I have a lot of nostalgia for that generation as a whole. It's also the last generation where I can name all 493 Pokemon from memory at the time. Legends was pretty cool though. Looking forward to ZA. My beloved Disgaea was also on live support for a bit as well. After an abysmally low-quality mainline release of Disgaea 6 almost buried the company, NIS was kept afloat with their ports of their older games to newer consoles, and we got a solid follow-up with Disgaea 7. But the Switch at launch got Disgaea 5, as well as Disgaea 4 and 1 later down the line. Seriously, go play Disgaea. If any of this footage you're seeing interests you at all, go pick it up. Just not 6, just avoid that one like the plague. This also released other titles like Labyrinth of Refrain or Pretty Puncher Princess, which I would love Witch and Her Knight 1 and 2 to get Switch ports, but those are still trapped on the PS4 to this day. Moving on, Kirby was a bit of a mixed bag this time around. Granted, I love the games, but I never really bothered to pick them up. I really need to fix that. Heard the newest game was good though. Mario was king as usual, but it was never for me. I only liked him when he was paper, and before the cocaine ruined him. But it looks like he's back in the mint, because that Thousand Year Door remake was pretty faithful and I enjoyed it. Even though it ran at 30 when the original ran at 60, like, how do you mess that up? From what I hear, his platformer titles have been top-notch, so I'm happy for those fans. Metroid Dread was goated. After taking my own advice, I started playing Metroid games starting back with AM2R, and then I worked my way through the 2D games, and I loved every single one of them. I was perfectly poised and ready for Metroid Dread, and man, it was a trip and a half. Great old school pattern recognition boss design and really beautiful atmosphere. The game just looks amazing. It's probably the best looking Switch game. Sakurai was stuck in the Smash Bros. Binds all generation, which is unfortunate, because this is the most milquetoast Smash Bros. Of the entire series, after following the other most milquetoast game in the series. The charm of Smash Bros. Kind of lost its luster. Brawl and Melee were punching way above their weight, but Smash 4 just fell in the same trap as other fighting games do in this modern era. The single-player options have withered away to not even a shell of its former self. The competitive scene has caused the game to be balanced into the blandest form you've ever seen, and the DLC is just a roster update with no substantial single-player content to add. Even with Ultimate giving us literally everyone back, and added my boy Sora into the mix, it's painfully boring to come back to. Which sucks because Sakurai is way better than this. Have you ever played Kid Icarus Uprising? It's amazing. Or Kirby Superstar or Air Ride. When he isn't doing Smash, he's out there making the greatest games of all time. Man, I miss BlazBlue. Star Fox is dead thanks to Zero. Moving on. What else? Oh yeah. You. Zelda has changed for the worse. It's not the same series as it used to be. The cracks started to show in a post-Skyward Sword world, the last true Zelda game in my opinion. The next release was the highly forgettable Link Between Worlds. That lazy rehash to the world of Link to the Past introduced a gimmick of giving you just everything from the start, but with a rental system. The system had a very negative effect on the game design as a whole because it caused the level design to be way too open-end to the point where it was forgettable. And then we got the abortion of a remake of Majora's Mask 3D. Then there was Breath of the Wild, a Zelda game in name only. Literally, call it anything else and nothing would change. You know it's bad when I had more fun with the spin-off than the mainline title? Not only did it change the formula so much it's unrecognizable, but due to the massive sales, it looks like the series going forward is going to move in that direction. A direction that I and many others hate for the series. Then we got Tears of the Kingdom, literally $70 DLC. You cannot tell me otherwise. It was just more of the same and I hated the first one. The Link's Awakening was just mid. I hated the art style and the music just didn't hit as well as it should have, which is unfortunate because Link's Awakening is known for its soundtrack, and the direction they took with the music just doesn't do it for me. The Tantalus port of Skyward Sword was just straight garbage, which I didn't have much hope for it because they botched the Twilight Princess on Wii U port as well. Honestly, I have more fond memories playing classics that I've played before on the Switch than a lot of the newer releases, but that's more of a problem with the industry as a whole right now, not just Nintendo. But really, do we need new hardware? I mean, Nintendo maybe, but my PS4 still gets a lot of major releases, and the PS5 and Series X looks on par graphically from what the previous generation could do. So much so that it's just been dual release hell since from the jump. And anything that is too demanding on the previous generation consoles, my PC just runs flawlessly anyway. I fear that the Switch 2 will have the same issues as the PS5 or the Xbox Series, where games are going to be extremely expensive to produce due to bloated budgets, and focus on graphics and throwing innovative and interesting game design in the trash in favor of a failed Hollywood pitch of a film plot, with the most cookie-cutter generic gameplay ever. Or another clone of that one innovative title that blew up and companies tend to chase. Basically, modern games just suck. And if you want any fun, you have to return to the classics, or play things from the indie scene to get anything good. At least it's cheaper. So, goodbye Switch. You brought Nintendo into the modern era, and I hate you for it. But you brought back Metroid, so I love you for it. But it cost Zelda its identity, which I despise you for it. But you also gave us the best version of Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition, so I can tolerate you for it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, well, it's complicated. Hey, kiddo! Papa ELICK is back with the milk and the cigarettes as promised. Sorry for being gone for a bit. I was off being Isekai'd. Now I'm back, and I intend on trying to stay active this time. Though, not sure how active. Working a full-time job takes a lot out of you. I promised myself that I'll make an effort to be more productive this year, so here's to hoping I can keep up with that.